What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Thursday, March 21st. Well, Palantir stock here today, guys, up 77 cents a share, plus 3.24% in regular trading hours. It is up a little bit here in the after hours. As always, take after hours with a grain of salt. The volume is going to be very, very low, and that's about 99, probably 0.9% of the time. Got to take that with a grain of salt, whether it's in your favor, supporting your bias, or going against you. Let's get started here on Palantir with our daily ritual, the volume profile analysis, to try to pull out some hidden bias that isn't clear simply looking at the price action on the 5-minute chart. Hey, listen, by the way, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. My goal is to hit, I think, 10K by the end of April, and I think we can hit it. Might be tough, but I think we can hit it with your guys' help. I appreciate it. All right, so you guys know the three things we're looking for here, right? Let's go ahead and circle up the moves that we're primarily interested in. I'm mostly interested in this smaller move off the open, and then this primary move into the close here that we saw. So let's start from left to right. You can see here, this is actually a very contextual profile. We got a really quick taper off in terms of volume off the open. We got one little green pop, but for me, one candle is too much of a risk of fooled my randomness, so I'm going to skip over that. Now, this move after FOMC, of course, FOMC is going to contribute, or did contribute, to volatility all around the market today. It increases volume, so we have to kind of upregulate our volume profile context, like the expectation of what normal volume is, because we expect additional volume from FOMC as a catalyst. And the truth is, we expect that initial pop and fade in volume on the news, and then we kind of got some mixed volume until that expected move into the close upside. You know, it's very normal to see that little bit of an upside fade in volume heading into the close. Like, typically we'll see like a U shape with the right side being a little lower than the open. However, today with the catalyst, of course, you know, that's maybe expected to be a little bit backwards here with this little pop in between off of the actual release. So the truth is here, we have to remain unbiased. Otherwise, what are we doing here? It's useless. It's a waste of time. And the truth is, there's really not a lot of bias here in terms of the volume profile itself. Of course, there's bias in terms of price action today to the upside after that FOMC. But the volume profile, there's nothing overwhelming in terms of bias. So let's move on here to the psychological self-fulfilling prophecy levels. Let's start with the 30-minute chart that I'm going to be watching here on Palantir come tomorrow, Thursday. Now listen, today was actually a really huge day. On the 30-minute, we reclaimed both of those highly psychological self-fulfilling prophecy moving averages, right? The most important indicators, the most popular indicators you could possibly put on a chart, not because they're magic, simply because they're used a lot. There's a lot of eyeballs on them. We reclaimed both in one day, which is never a bad thing to see. And we initially reclaimed the 50 period here in pre-market. You can see that. And for me, pre-market, it's useless, right? There's very little volume. I need to see it intraday. And we saw that intraday test on higher volume and held it very well, popped a little fade in consolidation. And then look at this on FOMC, kind of a cheap move, but honestly not really, right? We had a catalyst. I don't care what the catalyst is as long as the move and the volume support the direction. Okay, we saw a pop in volume, a high volume upside move through the 200 period here on the 30-minute, a retest, and a hold, spending about an hour, hour and a half above that level into the close, which is not, you know, it's not 5 hours, but it's better than 4 minutes. Bulls, on the 30-minute chart in particular, the one thing on my mind here tomorrow is I want to see that 50 period, this white line, right, crossing over the 200 period, ideally, just to get that quicker moving average as a psychological barrier, moving higher more quickly to add that psychological barrier back to the downside and get it up underneath the move, like I always say when we have nice upside moves. Now, bears, understand that currently we find ourselves about 3.5%. I expect that'll be a little less as the 50 period continues higher through tomorrow, which is likely. You're looking at maybe 2.5%, 3%, somewhere in that range of a downside move needed to break downside back below both of those moving averages. So you're making somewhat of a big ask, okay? But that's really the goal if you're a bear on the 30-minute tomorrow. All right, let's move on here to the 4-hour chart and take a look. And we are back in play here on the 4-hour chart. You can see here that 50 period is sitting right below 25 bucks. You know, bulls, I would love to see that thing sit above 25 bucks a share. So really tomorrow, you're asking for kind of a small move. I mean, about 0.6%, 2/3 of 1% to the upside to make a test of that. A break above there on big volume. A retest of the level as it starts to flatten out on lower volume. Okay. And whether that's flattening out or not, either way, that's okay. But then a high volume break back upside to say, okay, we're claiming the 50 period here on the 4-hour chart as short-term support while making that crack at 25, which is going to be kind of like the battle here tomorrow. We'll get to that in a second. Bulls, really, to make it simple, the goal on the 4-hour as soon as possible, reclaim the 50 period and allow that 50 period to curl back upside. That's great. Psychological barrier, right? Psychological level. Less doubt in the minds of bulls, at least on this particular chart. Bears, keep that 50 period curled downside and reject hard off of it. Kind of think of that 50 period on the 4-hour chart as your potential protection before 25 bucks a share if you're a bear. Okay, you want to hold that protection, not give it up. Now, the most important chart of all, do not skip the daily. This is the real story here. On Nvidia, yesterday, we talked about how today was like the battle of 900 bucks. Okay, on Palantir yesterday, I believe we discussed the battle of 24. Tomorrow on Palantir here is the battle of 25. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Tomorrow is the battle of 25 bucks a share. Bulls, we're heading in with a slight disadvantage. We are currently below 25 bucks a share. I want to see a high volume rip upside through 25. A low volume retest of 25 because it's a psychological level. And then boom, a high volume break back upside off 25, spending as much time as possible during the day above that level. What does that tell us? Big sample size of the market comes in, agrees, 25 is now a shorter term support level, at least for today on the first day break, and we're comfortable paying above 25 bucks a share. That's what humans and algorithms are saying. There's no way around that. Bears, number one priority tomorrow, whether you're able to hold the 4-hour 50 period or not, reject off 25, given any retests at all. But ideally, you'd want to reject prior to a retest of 25 by holding that 50 period on the 4-hour. That's kind of like your protection. Now, the bias out of the chain. What are traders thinking heading into tomorrow? We had 242,000 contracts traded here today, 155,000 calls, 87-ish thousand puts. That's a relatively heavy call side bias on the overall call per ratio. The one that I'm really interested in though, that 0 to 20 short-term speculator delta range, right? Those are like those short-term bets being placed. 52,600 calls versus 29,420 puts. You know, the options traders, this has been so consistent on Palantir as of late. They are still betting heavily bullish on every time frame. You know, they don't care if it's out of the money, at the money, in the money, short-term, mid-term, longer term. The option traders are slinging money on calls, and they haven't stopped for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now listen, they can of course be wrong, so just make sure your risk is managed. That's my warning. But this is what they're telling us here. Listen, if you want to come trade with our group every single day, I'm sending out my personal trade setup alerts. Unusual options activity, I human verify them to track what the whales are doing. I've been doing that for years. It's part of the group. It has been for a couple of years now, but I've been doing that since before I ever offered it as a service or part of that membership. As part of all memberships, by the way, you also get access to in-play stock alerts. So think of that as like your scanner that I'm alerting stocks that have mass attention from intraday traders and scalpers at that very moment. Also, of course, our small group, the Platinum One-on-One members. You can take a look, that link in the pinned comment. Hope to see you join for tomorrow's trading day, and I'll see you in the next one.